Hello out there and welcome to Public Conscience, the anti-corruption program produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. I am Chidozie Ogbonnaya with Adaobi Obiabomo.
Thanks for joining us.
On Public Conscience, we seek to evolve a corruption-free society by drawing government and citizens' attention to corruption reports and issues for prompt democratic actions against them. We also promote integrity by amplifying rare cases of the display of honesty by public and private individuals. We appreciate the MacArthur Foundation for supporting the production of this program.
Today, the focus is on the alleged extortion and harassment of herders and farmers in some Benue, Taraba and Kaduna communities by security agents deployed to keep peace, law and order. Findings by Daily Trust accused some soldiers and police officers deployed to some conflict engaging in unprofessional conduct and taking advantage of crisis between farmers and herders to extort money from them instead of restoring peace. The investigation also stated that victims of extortion by security operatives in these states part with between 10,000 naira to 100,000 naira.
Nigerian army and police hierarchy have always expressed zero tolerance against extortion, intimidation and harassment of innocent citizens. And as such, this investigation is one that army authorities ought to ensure that culprits are brought to book. Today's program seeks to draw the attention of the Nigerian army and the Nigeria police force to this report, as well as the need for them to get rid of corrupt elements within their ranks. For you out there, how is the culture of extortion by some security agents affecting you? Why do you think reports of security agents extorting Nigerians persist in our country? How can extortion by security agents in Nigeria be reduced drastically? Feel free to share your experience with us today.
Be ready to join us through phone and text messages during this conversation. The WhatsApp phone line to send your message to is 0902 265 6167. That is 0902 265 6167. Please indicate your name and your location when sending your message. This number is for messages only.
Please begin to send your messages as soon as possible to 09022656167. That is 09022656167. We will give out the numbers to call shortly.
If you just joined us, the focus is on Daily Trust investigation, which indicted some officers of the Nigerian Army and the Nigeria Police deployed to Benue, Taraba and Kaduna communities of extortion and intimidation.
We invited Army and police authorities to be part of today's program. Hopefully they will join us. But joining us in the studio with more on this investigation is a journalist with Daily Trust, Musa Luke. Musa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We also have a public good advocate and a security and energy consultant, Kevin Fineface. Welcome to the program. All right, let's get it started with Musa Luke. Musa, journalist with Daily Trust. Your report alleged that security agents extort and harass farmers and herders in some Benue, Taraba and Kaduna communities. Give us details of this investigation.
We conducted this investigation for about 4 months. We are on this investigation. And looking at the report, we have gone through all these states mentioned. That's Benue, Taraba State and then Kaduna State. Now in Taraba, we've started from Benue. Now there is this issue. The investigation focuses on how security personnel deployed to keep peace in these prone areas are accused or alleged for extortion. Now, if you look at these areas from Benue to Kaduna to Taraba, these are areas that they have been facing a lot of security threats, and the people in these communities now, at the point when security personnel were deployed in these areas, they hoped to have a relative peace, but at the time goes on, a lot of things begins to happen, and instead of them to enjoy the deployment of these security personnel to keep peace in these areas, now they begin to see some form of irregularities, and that is how we get some tips and then decided to investigate this issue. And when we go through these communities, it's not something that we did from here Abuja. We went to the communities, we have seen it ourselves, and we talked to these locals.
Which of the communities?
From the beginning, we went to Benue State, and then in Benue I went to Adaka community. Now Adaka community is about 100 kilometers away from the Makurdi city, and this particular Adaka community, there is this when I went there, the farmers in that community doesn't even stay at home. Like, they will just go there in the morning, by noon they will all leave there because of the security threats. They cannot they will no longer, they don't sleep in that in their houses anymore. Okay. So but when we look at the places, we have seen the presence of military personnel in those areas, but it was so sad when these people alleged that the security personnel also, instead of keeping calm the situation in that area, also are engaged in extortion. So that is what they.
How in particular do they extort the residents of these communities, the farmers and the headers? How do they carry out that extortion?
Yes, okay. Now, from the side of the farmers, what they share with us, that particular community is an agrarian environment, so they are engaged into farming. But because of the farmers had clashes in that community, farming now is being relegated to, now they have an alternative source of, which is log bucking. They went to the bush, cut wood, some firewood to sell, because they can no longer cultivate their land, the farmlands there, because of this farmers hardest crisis. So when we talk to the locals, and then they allege that, okay, even if they go to the farm to cut wood, firewood for sale, this military personnel deployed in that community, they will call them that they have to pay money for them to come out from the bush with those firewoods. So we even met the community leaders there. One of the community leaders alleged that this is not something that happens just once. In fact, in his presence, it happens more than 3 times. That sometimes the locals, those that know him in person, they'll have to call him so that he'll come and intervene on this particular issue. But for the herders, the thing is, what we found out from the herders is, the military, they allege that the military will call, like when they go out for to raid a cattle, now the military will confiscate the cattle that they have to pay. They have to pay for them to be released. Or sometimes they even arrest their children, those that went out to bush. They arrest them that they have to pay. So one of the victims which we met even alleged that, okay, his son was arrested twice. Now, the first time he was arrested, on the interval of about a month, the first time he was arrested, he has to pay money for him to be released. We asked him why, what happened that your son was arrested. He was like, okay, the first time he was arrested, he passed a military zone. It's a restricted area. So he went out grazing, and then he don't know that this is a restricted area. He went there. So the second time he was arrested, he did not even pass through that restricted area. The same child. So they arrested him. So when they arrested him, they give him a call, because he have their contact. They give him a call. Okay, we have your son.
Did he pay to an individual?
Yes, he met one. Based on our findings, he met one security, that is a military man, whom he said the man asked him just to be calling him Oga, because he have his contact. So he gave us the contact. We run a search on the contact, and then the name appears, Sergeant Adaka, Sergeant Shehu, which we confirmed his identity from the military source there, from the PRO of Operation Wildstroke, because he was identified to be a personnel with Operation Wildstroke, which we identified his identity there. So
is the military authority in that area aware of this identification that you identified one of them?
Yes, yes. Because when we get the contact from this man who alleged that the military, that particular personnel arrested his son, and at the end they even shot his son, the child, they killed the son. That is what he alleged. And then we call the PRO. We call the PRO to verify the identity of this, because we don't know, we don't have his name. They just say his name is Oga. So when they gave us the contact of that particular officer, we run a true caller search, and then the name Sergeant Shehu OC Adaka came up. So we met the PRO of Operation Wildstroke. We went to his office, we met him, we gave him the name, this is the allegation, and yes, he identified that yes, this man is a personnel with the operation. But he at a point said he expressed like doubt that if his men can do that. But all indication and all the evidence we have, yes, this man, yes, he is operating within that exit, and then his identity was confirmed by the personnel.
Was there also evidence to show that the money was transferred to this particular sergeant?
So we try to get the contact, the tellers, you know, these are headers, sometimes they don't keep record, you know, so we try to get the contact of the person they send the account number. Now we say, okay, which account, because it's not cash, which account number did you send this money to? But we couldn't get the account number, but we were able to like get in touch with because there is a particular POS operator that reside in that Wadata, because they have to leave the bush to come to the city to make all transactions. And so we couldn't get the teller, we couldn't get the account number, because these are people that sometimes they don't keep record of all these things, because they think, okay, this thing have been happening and nothing has been done at a point.
But were you able to retrieve the details from the operator of the POS?
The operator of it is something that happens like a year ago, like about July, sorry, it happens June, and then we make all before we finish all the findings is about October, which we couldn't trace the point of
but moving around, did you find or interview other people who, you know, point to the fact that they were extorted by the authorities?
Yes.
And what other areas of the state, because you mentioned Benue, Taraba, and Kaduna. Which other areas, specific communities that were affected in this? Just their names.
Okay, like in Benue, that's the Adaka community, and then Wadata. Adaka, that is where the farmers reside, and these headers are mostly in the Wadata community, but they graze around the Makurdi city. Now in Taraba state is inside the Jalingo town. Okay. Taraba is inside the Jalingo town. While Kaduna, when you move to Kaduna, is southern Kaduna, the Ikulu community, the Zangon Kataf area. You know, that is the areas that we did this investigation.
That's the areas affected by your from
our findings, that they allege that the military personnel are engaged, and not just the military but also the police. That is what they allege.
You stay with us, we will come back to continue the conversation from there, so that you tell us what else you did. At least did you get the response of the authorities before publishing? I will come back to that, but let me also say we have a public good advocate and security and energy consultant, Kevin Fineface. Let's have you jump into this conversation right now, because you've heard the journalist, and I believe you read the story How would you react to the investigation, and give us a sense of why extortion allegations feature regularly in the discourse about Nigeria?
Well, first, I wasn't surprised of this story. It is just that I must commend the fine young man who has taken it upon himself to bring out this whole thing to the front burner. It is something that has been happening. It's more like an endemic situation. Having been served in, in the system before as a security personnel, I know these are some of the things that I also fought against while in service. You find that our remuneration system is very poor. Recruitment process is very poor. You find nepotism and some sense of I should say chronism as a basis with which recruitment is actually being done. When we begin to employ people who have no business in the places we employ them into, you'll find things like this happening. So I wasn't surprised. But how do we stop it? Because it's not just to talk about the problem. The locals are basically helpless, if I must say. When you find security presence in any community, three things oftentimes happen. There's going to be an abuse of power. You find the security personnel randomly impregnating the young girls in that community, leaving behind, fatherless babies in that community. You find extortion in that community. And in some cases, you also find some level of criminality that takes place. Level of criminality in the sense that security agents within that environment, some of them, not all of them, begin to recruit young men and women that will hate, crime because they give them cover. It happens.
They are supposed to protect.
Yeah, they're supposed to protect, but you see, the society or the system enables them. Nobody checks these people. There's no auditing that takes place with security agents. No auditing that takes place.
Of recruitment.
After recruitment and after recruitment, in the course of operation, there's supposed to be auditing. There's supposed to be a body responsible to ensure they are doing what they're supposed to do. Funds allocated for whatever project, operations are duly spent and accounted for. Since there's no auditing, you find that the system oftentimes corrupt itself, and the officers and men have no other choice, who lack morals, who lack moral upbringings, tend to find themselves committing crime. Most of the fact that some of these persons are actually criminals recruited into the system. We heard a former, AIG of police talked about members of assembly, some members of assembly that he actually arrested and imprisoned as members of the so-called National Assembly a few years back. You also find them in the system. What is the vetting processes that is being deployed by these agencies of government to ensure those that have been recruited? When you have a recruitment system that it's based on allocation, that the president have slots, the National Assembly Senate president have slots, all the members all have slots into the system. They bring in their thugs and other criminals in a way to fill in those spaces. I saw on one of the medias a little boy who was recruited and sent to NDLA as a drug agent. If that boy is not up to 16 years, how could that be possible? You have such a thing. When I went to my own recruitment, I was told flat foot is not allowed. But I was shocked when I got to my training. I saw people with more terrible situation. So that is the problem. So as a country, we must have to tell ourselves some truth. We need to begin to look at how the welfare system, what is our recruitment process, or what is the welfare system that backed up that system, so as to be able to ensure that we deploy the referee system, that you have a yellow card and you have a red card, so you warn and you sack, and not only just sack, you prosecute. When people are arrested or tried or given on the road trial or given some form of query, they should be prosecuted by the law because they've actually breached. When we have a situation where people will carry arms and overthrow a government, then after many years they are called statesmen, it will continue to have this kind of situation. If the likes of IBB and Israelis, are still working free in the society after committing the crimes they committed against the state with the coups or Buhari, then it means that this thing will continue. We need to punish people who have done wrong.
So according to the law. What you're saying is that extortion is just an outcome of
this. The corruption in the system is an outcome. Now, the military or the police will tell you they frown at it by words, but they also know some kickbacks comes in because some of these persons who do these things, oftentimes also give returns, and so they are either slapped on, on the wrist and they work free, except it's glaring. like what he has done, if the investigation is so glaring, then that becomes an scapegoat to be used as a sacrificial lamb to say we don't tolerate things like this and probably sack and maybe prosecute that individual. But the system will still continue. We must tell ourselves this truth. Anyway, Nigeria has a problem, and we have to look for a way to solve this problem. And the only way to do that is to ensure we have the proper recruitment process and the right remuneration that is given for such kind of opportunities.
I would say that the IGP, Kayode Obetuku, when he was at the National Assembly, he said that remuneration and personnel, number of personnel they have in their midst, in their ranks, is an issue, was a very big issue in the police. And we cannot stop talking about the fact that corruption is ridding us of good service from our security agents. We'll continue with this discussion, but we also want to get our listener involved in this conversation. And we want to ask, give us your own contribution to it. Feel free to share your experience with us about extortion by security agents. How is the culture of extortion by some security agents affecting you? Why do you think the reports of security agents extorting Nigerians persist in our country? And how can we reduce it drastically? Let me get back to Musa. Musa, thank you for your explanation earlier. But let's get also your perspective about, not your perspective now, your interaction with the authorities before publishing this report. Did you contact them? But before you do that, let's just take this call and you give us your take on that. Hello? Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Uncle Joku for all children, calling from Abad.
Okay, Uncle Joku, let's hear what you have to say. Have you been affected by extortion by security agents?
Sincerely speaking, I've not been affected, but I know that this extortion and other forms of corruption are going on, perpetrated by the people that are trusted to secure people and their properties. In fact, the problem that we are suffering is what we can come to be called organized crime. That is collaboration. So those soldiers, they will not be doing that without being backed by the people on top that send them. They are having share from that. And if you report them, nothing will happen. At the end of everything, it will be swept under the carpet. And you will be ashamed. You that reported, you will be ashamed. You see? Because if the people on authority, if the people that send them don't have any share, they are afraid to do that. But because of that, they are too bold and they will continue to do that, which is quite appalling.
But we must not relent in reporting because we can't keep quiet. I think it's worse off if we keep quiet.
Definitely.
But thank you so much for joining us this morning.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. So he has had his take, and let's continue. Please go ahead and give us your take on that.
Okay.
You were going to tell us about what you met the military authorities before you published your story.
Yes.
What were their position?
You know, when we at the first contacted the Operation White Stroke in Benue, and then we contacted the police public relation officers in Taraba, and also the PPRO still in Kaduna State, because the Taraba and the Kaduna, the allegation is more on the police, while Benue, the allegation is on the military. That's the Operation White Stroke. So we contacted these people, and the Operation White Stroke, the spokesperson said he expressed like doubt that he don't think his men can do that, you know. So that is their reaction. But in Taraba, and then in Taraba, the public relation officer, the police public relation officer, denied all allegations. He said nothing like this happened because they have never received any official complaint by anybody on this kind of these kind of things.
But
so
did you encourage the residents to complain, since the PRO there said that he did not receive any complaints?
Definitely. In fact, even the case in Kaduna State, when we called the PRO, the former PRO, we started with the former PPRO, whom at a point he was, I don't know what happens in the police command, but he was later wasn't the public relation officer. Then the recent acting public relation officer said this is something that happened since last year. So he encouraged the persons to now officially report to the command what actually happened, so that they will follow up. So we also contacted the person involved and then tell him, okay, this is what the command said. So this is their reactions. But before we published, finally, we also contacted the Army spokesperson.
And what was it?
And the Army spokesperson, the first message was, okay, can you send us the complete detail of your findings? I said, okay, please, I requested personally, okay, can I get a time so that I can show you like the video and everything, so that you can see and react to all that. He did not respond. I sent him message. Okay, I sent him then the detail of what happened via message, SMS. He still did not respond to that. So then we go ahead and do the publication.
You need to protect your sources, because it's going to be too risky for some of these persons who are coming forward to to put out their complaint or explain that their lives are going to be at risk.
And Kevin, just to say that we invited the authorities of the Army, police, and police particularly to join this conversation, but we are yet to have them join us this morning.
Maybe they didn't have enough time given to them to come and join, but it's also not out of place. Like I said, what we are talking about, if I would have used the word pandemic, but that would have, like, maybe we have to go completely shut down. But so it's an endemic situation. It's an epidemic that needs to be taken care of as quick as possible. And I love that the more we engage the citizen, creating this awareness, showing that there's some level of protection to be given to those who are going to complain, because sources must be protected, or else some person might not live to see the day, the day to come and actually explain what has happened. The condition that these officers and men are put out there to do this job will give room for corruption to take place.
Is it enough alibi here?
From the findings that he got, is enough. Some will say it's not that rampant. No, one case is more of like 10 cases. How many persons will have the confidence to want to come and explain to what has happened? The question is that you have very few. Out of 10, only one person will actually come and explain what has happened. Now, if you get these men who have been responsible or who have been involved in this crime, of course it's crime, you'll be shocked to see that by virtue of their connections, they are posted to those places. Because deployment in military, police, or DSS anywhere is also backed with corruption. It has to be either based on cronyism or nepotism or some form of bigoted relationship or jingoism. So
it's not based on merit. Is that what you're saying?
There's merit window, but very few. From my own experience and from the experience of other people that I've engaged, there's a merit window that comes in. It's where you are exceptionally good and you can't do anything. I've actually facilitated a training for Nigerian police, community policing. And 60% of those who came for the training, rather, were those who are secretaries and other people that serves different organs in the offices that have no business being in that community policing training. We're supposed to have those in the field to do it, but they were sent for that training because of the money that comes with the training, because they have that basic, travel allowance that comes with it, and the hotel things that comes with it. So they were sent for that training, and they went back to stay in the offices. So the essence of the training was actually lost. We didn't really achieve the objective. The objective was to be able to train these people so as to equip them to know how to manage the public they're supposed to be serving. So when you find 60% of those who came for training are now sent back to the offices to remain in the secretariats and not in the field, what do you expect of those who are supposed to be in the operations? It means that we're still going to be having issues. Two, when you have the system that recruits people into a system without proper training and adequate follow-up, why do we have to employ security agents that have not been psychologically proven to have the capacity, the mental alacrity to do the job they need to do. Because if you want to be in a security agency, you want to be sure that you have the psychological preparedness and the alacrity. Is your personality designed to be in such kind of area, or you are one of such person that's going to be employed based on brother or political considerations or because of your religion, which is what we find common?
Are there intermittent evaluation of this personnel?
None. What we do, we have the HAPA form that is given to, which is also something that you also find corruption in there. Your performance evaluation that takes place, you're given the form to fill. You have to be nice to your superior to be able to write recommendation. There's supposed to be a psychological profiling that's supposed to have taken place with your evaluation. Let us be sure that you are employed into this service a year ago or 2 years ago. Let's be sure that your mental state is good enough, fitting enough to still be in the service. Nobody does that. Do we have enough psychologists in the country or psychiatrists in the country to even that? Yes, of course we do. We can deploy them to go by phasal relationship to ensure officers and men are mentally sound to be in those places. Are they going through stuff personally? They have their personal problems that they are bringing on board to interfere with the operations, or that they are truly sure that they have the capacity? Why do we have a country that have multiplicity of remuneration across board? That somebody who works in Department of Petroleum Resources, which is now been unbundled, earns far less than those who work in PTDF, which is also now been unbundled. Why do we have a politician who has a school cert that is earning much more than a police officer and inspector in the Nigerian police? Why do we have that? Why would I be paying the minimum salary of the councillor in the political office? It's about almost 500,000. He has specs of office opportunities that he enjoys. He has car loan, he has housing loan. Do we have the same thing given to a police officer that carries an AK-47 to protect us, or a military officer that protects us with his arms? No, we don't have that.
Inequality in the system.
We all go to the same markets. We all go to the same markets. Now you have these people that are going to the same market and far less. They have their children to be also in the same schools, but they go to public schools. So what you see is that because they don't have enough, the survival spirit kicks in. And the human being is designed to survive. And once survival spirit kicks in, moral is taken out of the place.
I will come back to you, Kevin, because we also need to engage the callers. Kevin has opened Pandora box this morning, and you'll be wild at what you're hearing. But it is what it is.
It's an ugly situation. It's for the authorities to work and ensure that we salvage the country, because those whom have been sent to protect lives and lives and property and ensure order in the state should not be the ones causing harm to the residents of a particular community.
I agree with you. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm calling back from Abaj.
Okay, Uncle, let's give you 1 minute to, put
okay,
together.
please, I want the last person to say. Corruption is inborn, or maybe from poor parental training. So somebody that is paid small amount of money can still work hard, even harder, than when he's paid big amount of money. People that are paid a big amount of money, they don't work hard. People work hard when they are receiving small things. They will show their integrity, what they have in them. From there, they may be promoted or rewarded. Thank you very much.
No.
Thank you so much for your take. But, one thing we must also ask ourselves is that what is the nexus between integrity that we learn from family and the situations we face? You said that survival is a natural instinct. How do we balance this act? Because on one breath, it's looking like it is what is driving many officers, many security agents into corruption. And on another hand, we are not fixing the problem. So where do we put our actions to?
There is this elasticity of demand we studied in economics. The human being also has its own stretch limits. No matter the training. I grew up in a home where my late dad would tell you, if I work or if I play, always speak the truth. He said, many are the labors of the young boy who want to become a clever man. I grew up with that. I'm more than 50 years of age, but I still have such training in my head. But I've also been faced with situations where I've asked myself if me being truthful is good enough towards the benefit and opportunities I see. When you are so disadvantaged for a very long period of time, you can actually find yourself either caving in into adjusting to a situation to meet up with the Joneses, or you give out and completely be obliterated from the system. The young man who just called now talked about you are paid little and you work hard. See, you can be paid little if you are supposed to be paid little, and you can actually work hard if the system truly works functionally. I was transferred from Port Harcourt to Abuja. I was not given accommodation for the first 3 months that I was in Abuja. I had to even go back to Port Harcourt to stay in my home because I was not given a place to stay. I was not given any allowance that was supposed to be given when I was transferred. I was supposed to be provision made for my comfort for the first 1 or 2 months so as I can transition to a quarters. But I was not provided that.
But did you extort Nigerians? Because
no, I didn't have the opportunity to extort Nigerians. See, it's when you don't have the opportunity to actually step about your morals. If you have the opportunity and you actually resist that, then of course. Now, how should I have...
You're saying you were not tested?
I was not tested to the extent that I actually extort Nigerians. But if I was in that state of being that I don't have accommodation, I don't have means, salary was being paid in Port Harcourt while I was in Abuja here, and I didn't have a means of survival, you tell me, what moral upbringing will I have not to be able to find myself either being a beggar, which is a low self-esteem, or finding the ways to undermine the system to survive, or looking for other collaborators that will do it? Don't forget, these people, officers and men, have weapons at their disposals, and you don't pay them well, and you don't take care of them well.
So they're angry already.
Now, of course, they're already. Then you now find people who are mischief makers and mischief promoters. Their benefit is simply to enjoy through chaos. They see you're poor, you're broke, and they come and give you welfare. They give you tips. Why do you think you go to government offices where you find security agencies, they greet you unnecessarily? Or even where you find they greet you unnecessarily, they give you a lot of compliments. Some of them bang their foot on the ground to salute you properly, so as to for you to part away with some things. So I call them official beggars in the 21st century. So you find such kind of situation because the system deliberately impoverishes the people in order to be able to continue to control them. So from time to time, one person is given opportunity, is deployed to work with one big man. His own life is good now, and so others will be open that they too will be deployed. So they will be able to behave properly at some point, or be nice to the boss who does the deployment. Find ways to lobby, using that either ethnic or religion or whatever it means to lobby themselves so they can also be deployed to those places. Why do we find officers and men scamping so much, even some cases using voodoos to be deployed to VIPs and others? Yes, they do. I experienced it. I was asked by one of my colleagues to tell him where I do my own jazz.
I told you
science does not recognize voodoo.
But science does not recognize voodoo, but this exists. We can't take away from certain kind of spiritualities and some demonic forces that also operate. I can't be ignorant about those things because I experience them. So when you have a situation in this country where your professionalism or your merit is not good enough to give you the job that is being advertised, then of course you find that people will always compromise the system. We've heard stories of people who have been employed or by government or security agencies and end up doing some crazy things, can't even survive the same because some of in quotes the rich kids who are employed into the different security agencies that couldn't stay because they were asked when they paid them their salary, they said, what am I going to do with salary? When they earn, they get more from their parents. So what are they going to do with the salaries? And they left the service.
And let me remind you that it is still Public Conscience, a production of the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development. Right in the studio, we have a public good advocate and security and energy consultant, Kevin Fineface, and Luka Musa, who is a journalist with the Daily Trust. Thank you for staying with us. Adobe, let's also try to look at, let's start looking at the solutions, because to the extent that this investigation is out there, the police and the army, we are expecting them to look at it, and also names were mentioned in the investigation to also run on the names and make sure that whoever that has been indicted by this investigation is brought to book. What is your advice to them?
I've said so many, I've given so many solutions that is necessary. The fact that the investigation actually named names, it's a commendable feat, Mr. Luka, for you to do that. Now, it's not left for the system to want to heal itself. But the question is, to what extent will they go to want to heal it themselves? If it is endemic, it becomes a problem. Rather, the journalists will be used as scapegoats. Those who have mentioned, who granted interviews, will be used as scapegoats. Now they said the evidence is not substantial enough because they could not get the bank account where this transfer is actually done. We all know how this thing works. In some cases, they ask you to go and bring money and give so that they don't have any evidence. But there are text messages that connotes such communication that are taking place between these parties. So if we must do investigation, if you want to ask me, first thing we need to do pattern trails. And what does that mean? Let's pick all the calls that took place and go to the telecom NCC through we go to telecom through NCC and get the information, because by law these telecom operators are supposed to leave your voice, your data, and your text messages in their system, their server, for 18 months by law. And it also goes beyond that. So we need to go get that information. The voice conversation can be trailed and seen to be sure that this thing took place. Other thing you can also do, you can actually do pinpointing. For every environment you find yourself, there are telephones and masts. The communication between the mast and the SIM card is also recorded. So we can get information. So if they want to deny the fact or they don't know what to do, I'm giving this information what they need to do. Then we need to also, as a matter of constitutional provision, ensure that everybody that must work in any security agency must go through psychological profiling. It's very important so that you know that they have the capacity to work in that kind of environment. Two, that their remuneration must not be different from that which the oil worker earns or the politician earns. In fact, the politician earns. Why will you pay a politician much more than you're paying a security agent that protects your lives and property, that ensures law and order? It's a disservice, is a misnomer, must not be entertained in any form. Those who carry arms are supposed to be paid much more, so they have the mental alacrity to do the right thing that they're supposed to be doing. It can't be giving the hunting dog far less than the hunter is taking. The hunting dog goes to get the kill. So what we do as hunters, we give the juiciest parts of this meat to the hunting dog. So next time he goes, he smells the meat running in the bush and he goes after the bush. You cannot continue to be paying me less and expect me to do more. There was a time I was protecting the president of this country. I was giving a machine gun and a pistol to protect the president of this country. But I was paid far less. If it wasn't for the moral upbringing that I have, we would have seen ourselves somewhere in the Middle East or some places in East Africa that they don't have those kind of morals to do it. With all apologies, we should stop this habit of paying people who carry arms far less than we pay them and expect them to do much more. It's when there's a security breach, we call security people to come into a place to come and take care of things, and it's wrong.
But Kevin, coming back to the investigation, if I get you right, this investigation is valid enough for police authority and army to take action. It
is so valid because the young man had given facts that is there for them to see. If they really want to do things, they can do the right thing that I just mentioned. But if they don't want to do things, it will be glossed over. I just hope that there will be more publicity given to such findings and more persons will be encouraged to get into investigative journalism to get more of this fact. There are things happening even in Abuja here that has not been reported as such. You find that those farmers and soul locals in those communities are actually going through a lot to survive. They go, now for you mentioned about logging. I think logging, yes, it's because the loggers have actually breached the law, because you're not supposed to just go log. You're supposed to be given approvals for logging. Then after logging, you're supposed to also replant so that you can have more of those things. And because they breach the law, the security agencies, what they simply do, they breach the law, they become the custodian of the law and the judges, and so they give them fines. So they pay fines that are not recorded. How do we explain that? The reason why today you find mobile police deployed to VIPs and all those things, and people pay for those things, we deploy these people to them. But the funds paid are not getting into the national treasury. Okay, that's the corruption that's taking place that must be talked about.
Another level of corruption that must be talked about, like you said. Let's bring in Musa.
What would be your charge with, you've done this investigation, and is there, you'll be hopeful that some action will be taken on this investigation. What is your charge
actually,
to the military authorities and the police?
Yes, the purpose of these findings is not just to shame people, no, is to make right the system. No, when you look at the system, sometimes you feel like, what is really happening? there are so much that is happening in the system. But now, not just looking at the system, but looking at these people. If you are in the field, if you go to the field, meet these people, some majority of them, they are skeptical of giving you information because they are scared of who will then protect them.
Repercussions.
You understand? There are a lot of them that are facing even worse than what we have found out, but they are not ready to give out information because they are skeptical. They are afraid what will happen next. Now, this is so sad that we are in a country that the citizens will fear to give information as such. But still we have to engage in sensitization, and then let the system also, those in power, they should do something about this, because people are suffering, people are dying out there. If you go to the rural areas, they are dying, but nothing is happening. So the focus should also be on these particular people, that let there be a sensitization that they should know. And then if they have any information, because there are a lot of jingles out there by security operatives. If you see something, say something, but is it really working? Is it really working? That is the question.
You say it's not realistic?
No, but to some degree, I'll give it to the police.
To some extent,
because the PCRO, the police public complaint departments, if you make some complaints, they respond. They have tons of complaints. So I've seen some responses taking place. I've done a complaint before. That was in Port Harcourt, where there were multiple checkpoints. I was driving, and these checkpoints, they were actually collecting money. I actually videoed them, collecting money. Some of these people collect money along Olaposition Road and NT Road. I did that, and I sent, and I saw reaction to that.
Yes,
that took
just
place.
to quickly add to what you said, there was also a report by Human Angle, which is our partner, on extortion by security operatives on the road, as in the Northeast. We amplified that report here, and Army and police also reacted to that. Let's hope that they would also react to this particular report, because names are mentioned here.
And for the citizens, that's why we must not keep our lips tight. We must continue saying something, no matter. We know that the situation is dicey, we are in dire strait, and it could be dangerous, but we must have to do the much we have to do. And it's been a robust conversation here. Our time is fast spent, and we have to draw a conclusion to this discussion.
Let me quickly reiterate that we invited the authorities of the Army and other security organizations mentioned in this report, but unfortunately they are not present with us. We will continue to engage with them and hope that they react to this report.
Absolutely. We will have to continue engaging. Adobe will have to go. Our time is up.
Please visit our news website, primorgnews.org. That is primorgnews.org for all the details of our reports and interviews. Visit our website, www.primorg.org, to get all the information about Primorg.
And you can watch our videos on Primorg TV, our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to get reminders when we have a new post. We appreciate our guests, investigative journalist with Daily Trust, Luka Musa, and a public good advocate and security and energy consultant, Kevin Fineface. Gentlemen,
my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, Public Conscience has the support of the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. Get more information about the foundation on its website, macfound.org.
Join us again here next week for another episode of Public Conscience. And remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, which is same as X, @official Primorg. I am Adaobi Obiabumo.
And remember that birth registration and birth certificate are free if your child is under 18. Help stop the corruption in birth registration and do not pay for birth certificates. Also, remember that you can give us information or hints about corrupt acts through our phone at 09022656167 or info@primorg.org. I am Chidozie Obonnaya. Stay safe.